acting on those desires.
I got a good one. I got a good question.
Attack on God.
T-Jump. So speaking of lusting women, free will. So if you're having sex with the most beautiful woman imaginable, you can't even believe this is happening, but you're in the middle of it and you're realizing, you're looking down like, I can't even believe I'm in the middle of this situation. And you come early. Were you objectively moral against yourself? Like, did you do an immorality against yourself when your goal was to last longer?
Sure, it was the nature gate was an immoral, and the fact that it caused me to have physical limitations I didn't consent to.
So then because of that,
after Omar.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I do have a question. Does this mean T-Jump? Does this mean? I'm just trying to understand your wavelength. Does this mean my mother was immoral for giving birth to me because I didn't consent to it, and I cannot hit her in the face for it?
You can definitely can't hit her in the face, but no, it's not immoral. Again, we covered this like 6 times earlier. Creating a consciousness isn't immoral. Imposing on it by having a nature that you designed where it can't do stuff is immoral.
So that's when she told me not to do things when I was little, that was immoral.
But in many cases, yes.
Wow. So do you believe in punitive damages? Do you believe punitive damages are morally bad or good? You believe that punishments are bad?
Yes, punishments are morally bad. The moral thing to do is to turn the other cheek.
So we should just let all of the red rummers and the
if you want to be perfectly immoral,
and
if you want to be
essayers, all the essayers, we should just like let them roam free.
No, I want to be perfectly immoral monk
that doesn't do any justified immoral actions.
Like
I got a good one. So you're in Minnesota.
Yep.
And I think half the panel knows exactly what I'm going to say.
Yes, I do.
I'm excited. No one knows what you're going to say. No one knows what you're going to say. Go ahead.
So it's immoral to deport people out of this country. Yes. We should just turn the cheek.
For lots of reasons, yes.
Thank you.
Wait. Hold up.
I prove my point.
So there is all of the 90-something% of the people Trump deported have committed no crime. They're innocent. They commit absolutely less crimes than the population in America.
I would just yield right now because you're about to fucking lose.
Hold on, Spin. Pardon me, Tom, but Spin. Can you ever just let somebody answer your fucking question?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so
go ahead, Tom.
All of the evidence indicates that the illegal immigrants actually provide more economic value than pretty much anybody else, and so deporting them is one of the dumbest decisions economically possible. So yes, I think that the mass deportation of innocent business owners and people who work is a horrible decision and is objectively immoral and stupid for many reasons.
Well, okay, is it immorally stupid for people like you to go down to the Whipple building and hurl dicks at cars? Is that immorally stupid?
The gay stuff. He's already doing the fucking...
I would like to engage. Wait. Let me answer the question. So, go ahead. Yes, it is immoral for people to hurl objects at other people's cars. Yes, 100%.
But that's our cars.
That's our car.
Exactly. That's why it's immoral. Yes, I'm agreeing. That's
those are our cars.
No,
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. It is
describing his own. No, it's his own fantasy. He said throwing dicks at his car. He said throwing dicks at his car.
We collectively pay for those.
I think there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah. So if you want them to throw dicks at your cars, I guess it's moral for them to throw dicks at your cars.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes. You know,
if you
and Shaman, I was trying not to get on your shit tonight, but you're really close for me to crash out.
More gay stuff. Getting on my shit. That's gay, bro.
So I guess I want to go back to the perfect world, because if the only basic rule is you can't do anything to other people unless they consent, right? Okay, I understand that, but that means you leave the door open for all of this other stuff that could still be deemed as immoral overall.
Like what?
For instance, even I don't know.
Even revealing yourself as a god might be immoral by some standards.
Shush, let her finish. Shush. What's the example?
You could go that route. You could go with you could question a lot of things we have going on now. Like we have the transgenderism, we have
why is that immoral?
Gay in terms of the questions of its morality there. What if I was, because you said if I wanted to be if I wanted to be a kid, right, I could consent to being a kid.
Yep.
And then if I don't want to be a kid anymore, I could go back to being an adult. But what if I say, hey, I'm an adult and I consent to being a kid and then having things happen to me from another adult? I'm trying to utilize my words wisely, if you understand what I'm saying.
So if you are a fully consenting adult human being and you consensually revoke your ability of intelligence and consent to actions happening to you, again, that's fully moral. You've already, as an adult, consented to all of those things.
Yeah, it just sounds like role play.
Yeah, so back to the question that I gave an example to what she's talking about. Say you're a god and you reveal yourself to people. Wouldn't it also be immoral if some people don't consent to that? Yes, it would. Because say it might ruin their worldview, it might hurt them in other ways. Yeah, it absolutely does. If I live my whole life as an atheist and I have to change now that a god reveals himself to me, it would be immoral for that god to reveal themselves to me. Therefore, by consenting after me, like doing something,
why does he diatribe? He can make a point in one sentence. He doesn't need to keep.
Well, listen, I could make a point, but you mentioned lots of points.
I actually don't think you're interpreting his framework correctly, though.
Finish your thought, Gibbs. Go ahead.
I love that people do this when I start talking. I literally have only talked for 15 seconds. He does this because he doesn't have an answer for what I'm saying. It's called running away. It's attacking.
It's because I want to answer, but you keep talking.
Yeah,
well hold on. We've allowed you to finish your thoughts too. So let Gibbs finish his. I think he's onto something. He wants to get across.
Yeah, and you don't have to like shush. I mean, the moderator can do that. We're here before. Now my point is, if a god reveals himself to some people, and if some people have lived their whole life being atheists, and they like devoutly have fundamentally made their life a thing about hating God or hating gods and believing free will, if they reveal themselves and prove they're definitively their god, just by doing it, it's going to harm this person. And by your own definition, that is immoral because it hurts them. So therefore, you can let me finish. And therefore, by any definition, if everything is immoral, then there is no morality, and it's all subjective. So go ahead and explain that one then.
Right. So like, if there were some humans who did not want to know if God existed, then it would be immoral for God to show them to them. Pretty much no atheists want that. All atheists say, if God is true, please have him reveal it to us. So we would all be okay with that. It would destroy absolutely none of our world. We would just think he's an immoral bastard. So there's totally possible for God, an all-knowing being, to know which beings didn't want to know of him. And he could just not reveal himself to them and reveal it to everyone else perfectly fine. It'd be very, very simple. No harm.
Now, back to the situation I laid out earlier, where you said the opposite. Remember the scenario with the Sims where I said, hey, you're going to reveal everybody. They're going to make a conscious decision of what's right to the God, because some decisions are going to hurt one person and hurt a different person. So therefore, if one person in that scenario thinks this is like one way and it's going to hurt that person, by that God,
none of that hurts anybody. None of that hurts anybody.
Requiring them all to do this, it's going to prove that's immoral and hurt them. Therefore,
you're adding all this nonsense into the argument that doesn't make sense.
Did you get the world's consent before you made the decision?
I mean, you can say it's nonsense. But that's just not dealing with the problem.
So the answer is this. The answer is God can reveal himself to all of those who consent.
Except for the one. And then if he gets hurt by the decision made,
I already answered that. God can reveal it to everyone who consents. Problem solved.
He has revealed
If I may add, all that's like necessary to like be morally impermissible under his worldview is that it violates someone's will.
Right.
If someone is just consenting to like God revealing themselves to him, there's no will imposed upon here. There's nothing here. It is then up to them to determine whether they should follow that God.
Well, Bones, this is the problem I offered earlier, and this is why he's wrong, right? So this is earlier I offered, hey, if say providing more food for one person is going to hurt some other people, or they're going to provide food for everybody, but it's going to hurt the economy somehow. And he said that just the way to do it, the moral way, when God reveals himself to everybody, and everybody can pray and they can input to what would the best thing be. Now, in this scenario, this one person said is going to be impacted by the decision of the masses. If God cannot reveal himself to that person, and they're impacted by the decision of the masses, they're still going to be impacted by that God reveal themselves, whether they reveal themselves or not. That's immoral by his standard. Now, if he does reveal himself to them, this one person in this situation thinks that by God revealing themselves or proving it, it's going to hurt them. That would also be immoral. Therefore, morality doesn't exist under his own framework, and therefore he doesn't actually have any beliefs.
So again, that's just complete insane gibberish. So if you're an all-powerful God, you can know which. Stop talking. If you're an all-powerful God, you can know which beings want to be. Stop talking. Want to be.
Hold on, Gibbs.
Sorry,
Gibbs, you complained when he was going.
Well, I'm only complaining because she's bitching every time you do this. Listen, Massa.
Come on. Well, do unto others. Go ahead, Tom.
All right. So this is very, very simple. If you were an all-powerful being, you can know which beings consent to be visited and which which beings do not consent to be visited, and anything that the beings who want from the world, you can give it to them without affecting the others. You're an all-powerful being. There's no problem there. Gibbs' original analogy was he as a human being was playing a video game, and limited as a human being, he can only give food with a food button, which has limitations and impacts everybody indiscriminately. So he doesn't have the option to be an all-powerful being who can only give it to those who consent and not those who don't consent.
You're an all-powerful being.
Shut up, Gibbs. Shut up, Gibbs. Shut up, Gibbs.
Come on.
So in the case, shut up.
That's fine.
Gibbs, you wanted to finish your thought. I tried to make sure Tom stopped so you could finish your thought. Now do unto others.
So the answer, if you're God, it's you can reveal yourself to everyone who consent. Don't reveal yourself to those who don't consent. Help those who do consent. Don't help those who don't consent. Problem solved. All powerful being.
Yeah. So once again, you're disregarding simulation theory completely. I've basically laid this out, and like once you said, even when you said this, I framed a scenario in a hypothetical, which is it's something that's actually a real world hypothetical that you're choosing not to deal with by adding other things and saying, "Oh, okay."
How did my answer not deal with
limited by people being the Sims? Now, if I was if I was actually God, and
how did my answer not deal with it?
Hold on, but even in the Sims, I can still do mods and be all powerful. I can do whatever. So even in that scenario you described, I can still be all powerful. And once again, in the scenarios
you're just diatribing with random stuff.
No, I'm not diatribing. Once again, I described a situation where, hey, all these people are going to be affected. And even if I don't reveal myself to this person, they're going to be affected by the decision the masses made. You're not dealing with that at all. And you're proving that you can do the talk symbol all you want. I mean, if you're going to do bad faith and you're going to play the games, we interrupt and we try to do the thing, I'm going to mog you. Don't do it. I do it so I can fucking mog you. But the point that I'm making here is that you're not actually laying the foundation on anything. I am answering the question. You just don't like my answer.
Question was, how does my answer not address this? My answer was, all-powerful being can reveal himself to those who consent, not reveal himself to those who don't consent, help those who consent by giving them food, not help those who don't consent by not.
The scenario I described that you chose not to engage in was even in the scenario where I don't reveal myself to one because I am all powerful, they're still going to be affected by the material gain of the other on Earth in a powerful way. Now, so there's no way if we live in a world with rules and that are applied, and by rules I mean physics. An all-powerful being in our own form can't do what you're describing. That's the problem. Is in what I'm describing, I've already laid out the scenario, and you're denying the scenario, and this is humanity as we know it. It's being. Yeah, okay. I mean, we can all pretend to be Thanos, but even in the Thanos scenario where he's like, oh, we can double it or we can cut it in half.
I addressed this. What? Can we move on?
You didn't exactly.
Thanos wasn't all powerful. He only killed half.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know, like, how would and maybe I missed a piece there, but how does in the perfect world, in Tom's perfect world, how would the atheists or anyone even know to have the God man, whatever, revealed to them if they're not even aware that it exists?
That's another good one.
Because if
everyone who wanted to know would know.
But how would they even know to ask?
Well,
they're not going to be affected by everybody else.
Wait. Do I have the desire to go to my own world? Yes, I have the desire. I am open to it. I would know. So it's like anyone who's open to it and who doesn't actively not want to know would know.
Would the people that in the material world be affected by other people knowing this information?
Well, I guess my question is how, I mean, if everybody goes off to this perfect world and let's pretend our world doesn't even exist, because then there's consciousness being just like generated on its own, right? At what point do you lose sight of the real world and what our belief systems and cultures and society is if everybody's off at the beach drinking margaritas and doesn't know to ask?
I don't understand your question. So everyone literally owns their own planet that they exist in the best of all worlds. So how do they not, they can choose to learn about human society if they want to, and if they don't, there's nothing lost.
But how would they know to even ask about what they don't even know exists?
Like, if they know they don't know everything and they say, I want to discover stuff. How do I discover stuff? Like, what's the exact same way you do?
Even under what you're saying, you're proving that point. You're proving that point. You already said earlier, if they're indirectly affected by something, that's immoral. And so
powerful being.
Right, I understand that. Like, listen. So if they are, you already admitted, if they're affected by the material gains of this all-powerful being, of that indirectly, that would be immoral. Therefore, that all-powerful being couldn't be moral because he's immorally hurt somebody, despite them knowing. And if they do know it, they don't.
All-powerful being can help someone without affecting the others. It's part of being all-powerful.
You're arguing faith right now, and when you're arguing morality is subjective, you either believe in a higher power or you don't. And if you don't believe in one, then this doesn't apply. But if you do believe in one, you're basically just proving my point.
I think we all, Gibbs. I think we all agree that the best of all possible worlds that he's describing, no one thinks that exists. We all understand that no one here thinks that actually exists. Okay, just making sure.
Well, but hold on. Let me ask. Maybe I'm on the right track. I don't know. But if I say, Tom, okay, I would like to discover whatever from the real world, right? But I didn't consent to knowing that there was an all-powerful God. But then that information was revealed to me by me asking to discover about the other world. I didn't consent to all of that other shit. I didn't consent to know that there's pain. I didn't consent to know that there's suffering. I didn't consent to know that there's horrible things, right? All I said was I want to discover more, or whatever verse of verbatim you, or whatever wording you would like to use. But again, how do I know I don't know, or know what I don't know? And how do I know what to ask specifically so that I'm not affected by the all-powerful person, that God thing that might exist? How do I know to not consent to that if I don't believe it, or if I think it might be harmful later? Because once I know, then I'm affected.
Well, there's three parts of that. One is that once you know, you could just revoke your consent to know and it would be gone. So no, you wouldn't be permanently effective. Two is that if you have a desire to know something, but there's certain things you don't want to know, whatever you desire to know would be open to you, but you wouldn't literally know everything. Most atheists would probably just say, I just want to know everything, know the fundamental truth regardless. And that's most likely what would happen. So the answer is pretty simple. If you only desire to know some things and there's certain things you wouldn't want to know, you would only know the things that you consent to knowing. If you want to know everything, you would know everything. And if there's something you learned unintentionally, had unintentional consequences, you could forget it later.
That second one.
How do atheists even know they're atheists?
We don't believe in a God.
But no, I mean, in this perfect world, if you're just a generated consciousness or whatever, how do you even know you're an atheist?
You would be God. That's the point, I think.
So in the best possible worlds, there isn't a God, or God would just be.
No, you would be God. No, but T-Jump, you would be a God.
No. So no one would be a God. No one, because God by definition has all control over all other agents, and no one would have control over any other.
No, I mean you would have your own control over.
So, but that would not. You would not be a God because you would not have control over other agents. So that's the difference. That's why you wouldn't be a God. But in this case, there would be no God in the Christian sense. If there was like a Christian God, he'd just be another individual consciousness with his own world, and that's it. And so if you existed in this world, you would be whatever you wanted to be. You would believe in whatever you wanted to believe in. And so if you didn't believe in a God, you would be an atheist. Like there is a common hub where everyone can go and mingle, like a online space, and you can learn things from other people just like you would anywhere else. So if you wanted to learn about another world, you could just go to the common hub and talk to people like anyone else. So if you want to learn about something, you will learn about it the exact same way you do here. Go on Twitter.
As long as we still have Thanksgiving, I mean, sign me up.
I want to explore a place we haven't been. This is something I don't believe we've covered quite yet. Does your morality, objective morality, transfer also to animals? Are human beings
agents? Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Humans are also animals, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, I have a perfect.
Wait, let him finish. Shush. Let him
finish. I'm sorry. I thought you were done, Clay. I'm sorry.
No, he just started.
I do have a follow. So the leech. The leech requires, it is parasitic. It requires non-consensual feeding.
No. So it does not logically require non-consensual feeding. It is only biologically designed by some awful designer to need that. But if we could create the best of all possible
No, don't fall on Christianity. Don't fall on Christianity. In your world, there is no God. Stop that shit now. You've been doing it all fucking night.
It's fun to poke fun at your silly ideology.
Your silly ass bullshit can't fly when it comes to the leech. The leech requires non-consensual feeding. Explain why it is that transfers also to animals when not all animals follow your stupidity.
So animals are immoral. That's how.
So it doesn't transfer to animals.
No, it does transfer to animals. So all conscious agents are moral agents who deserve their own world. So leeches should be made intelligent as humans and conscious as humans to be able to have their own world. That's right.
They are not.
Which is immoral.
The tiger, the lion, the bears. Oh my! You know what they do? They require non-consensual feeding. My man, it does not transfer.
We don't live in the best of all possible worlds.
But it's not God. Remember, you keep.
I didn't say anything about God. I didn't say anything about God. We don't live in the best of all possible world.
We live in this reality, my man. Right? And the reality that you believe it is this naturistic bullshit.
Wait, I got a morality question for everybody. Okay. Now follow the train of thought. Is torturing an innocent child for fun objectively wrong?
Yes, and then Pastor Guy's going to say no.
Well, yeah, I agree. Yes, torturing an innocent child for fun, objectively wrong.
Okay, I have a question for.
Well, let someone answer the
question. Hold on.
No, it's not objectively wrong.
Okay, everyone answer. No. We have a yes, no, 2 yes.
Why is it not objectively wrong?
That's my question.
Apparently, the person doing it thought that it was okay.
Oh, because it's subjective based on perspective.
No, but Balderson, if you're taking an innocent child and torturing her for your own amusement, and the child screaming, you know that's
that one.
Have you ever seen a cat?
No, he changed the scenario. It was a child first, and then it became an innocent child.
No.
No, he said innocent at first.
No. That's why I asked. Look, is torturing an innocent child for fun objectively wrong? So, regardless of you lived 500 years ago, 500 years from now, is it objectively wrong? Yes or no? That's the question.
Yes, because he built into the scenario is innocent. In other words, it's not justified. So it's already built upon objective reasoning.
So then morality has objectivity. There is an objective
reasoning
morality.
Has objectivity.
The reasoning is based off moral what? Principles.
If you're using objective reasoning to make moral claims, then by definition that would just be an objective moral claim.
It would be an objective moral claim based on reasoning.
Okay. So that's yes or is that no?
He's just
asking, your answer should be yes. Then,
morality. Right? That's all he's asking. Do you believe in objective morality? That's all he's asking.
No, well, because this is a good one to see where people are really at. Because I just don't. Because anyone, in my opinion, this is my opinion now. This is not a question. Anyone who would say no because I'm like, there's something fucking wrong with that person, and that's Moses' law was to stone that person. So that's where I came to the idea of the concept of the potentiality of certain, at least one place where you can pick one scenario that objectively the overwhelming majority of people would agree this is objectively a true statement that this is wrong. An innocent child for fun, wrong, and everyone. And there'll be, of course, in all times there'll be a few people going, well, I don't know. What if I'm enjoying? And those are your Satanists.
So while everybody, I'm sure
it's not the right or wrong of the situation that I'm disagreeing. It's the objective and subjective. You see, for it to be objective, it has to be absent mind, and mind is the only thing that's applying good and evil. Without mind, it's just a thing that happened.
It's just an observation.
But it's not. Well, there's two minds involved. There's two consciousness. There's the innocent child that's being tortured.
There's no mind involved in objective. No mind.
Right.
No.
Well,
the morality being a fact or not a fact is the question. So obviously, the child would clearly say it's being wrong, right? They're the innocent child being tortured for fun. But most people would say this is wrong and would stop it. But there would be at least one person that would make an excuse of why it's not objectively wrong, not wrong at all. So is that objective or subjective truth? If we
keep adding the two things together, saying not wrong
there's a difference between
and saying it's not objective.
Hold on. What Ben's trying to say is you're saying, is it objectively wrong? But what Ben is saying is the question should be, is it objective or subjective? Right? It's a either or kind of concept because and you answered it yourself by saying, well, like 9 out of 10 people would look at this scenario and say that's wrong. But then there's that one guy that would say, no, it's not, which makes it subjective based on the observer. Right.
Which leads us to which leads us to good and evil. And my point is that evil will always turn something that we know is objective morality, torturing his innocent child for fun, as a subjective gray area. And that's where good and evil comes in.
But here's the problem with this argument. Here's the problem. Hold on. There's a major issue with what he's saying.
I haven't talked all fucking night, and I'm trying to just have a quick back and forth with Omar, and I haven't said fucking shit all night.
Go ahead, Ben.
You motherfuckers, shut up. You know, I don't want to be this dude over here who can't not say shut up, but Jesus Christ, y'all.
Go ahead, Ben.
Why can't you accept that you have decided that it's a bad thing? Society has decided it's a bad thing. It doesn't need to be objective. Why is it you can't take the responsibility for having made that choice? That you decided you're a good person because you don't do that to little kids. Why do you need it to be objective for it to be? Yes. You're the one.
My question is I think that's the perfect question. That's the perfect scenario that we can actually fine tune whether morality is objective or subjective. Like if you piece that exact scenario, I think that I haven't thought of a better one, by the way. Maybe a newborn baby, but you could say newborn baby. What if it had this? What if it had that? I'm talking about a child who has the ability to walk, talk, etc. So, voice if something hurts or not, etc. Right? So I just think that's the perfect, like, foundational, concrete thing that we could step on to start and see if objective morality is objective or subjective. I think
that would be so. If you deem it as objective, you deem it objective because you're probably most likely your religion, right? Because Christianity says there's an objective morality, therefore this is bad, right? And you would base it off of that belief system. But just like you said, there's some satanic douchebag out there who obviously doesn't believe God or doesn't believe in objective morality or good things or whatever. So that person would deem it as subjective because of that concept. So you guys are agreeing, you're just agreeing on different terms.
Well, I was posing a really good question to get shit popping. That's all. That was my.
Here's your problem with your question. Here's your problem. Okay. This, you keep saying this one thing. You say like the majority, 9 out of 10 agrees, and the one guy's evil. Okay. What happens when the majority thinks something else, right? And I'm going to give an example, right? Central and South Americans up until 1492, and at the time of 1492, outnumbered Europeans drastically. So they outnumbered all the Christians basically in the world by like about 20, 30 million arguably, right? And so when we're sitting here looking at this, they vastly disagree with what their perception of morality was. They believed in child sacrifice in the Empire. They believe in sacrifice in general in the Aztecs. Now, they actually outnumbered the Christians and the Muslims and all these people. So here's the thing, right? If you're going to say it's by the majority and they objectively come to this conclusion, then we're living in a world where we're actually fighting the objective reality, and child slavery and child murder and child torture is actually the moral correct thing because they came to this conclusion on their own, distinct of European and Eastern or Western influence. And so that way, that means that we're actually being immoral by not torturing children. Do you see the problem with your argument?
I see what you're. Well, that's not the problem with my argument. I understand what you're saying. My question is, I got you, but that's the difference between justice and raw power. So if you're saying that whoever's in power creates the justice, and justice is whatever they say is morality, then there's no difference between morality and power. And I'm saying that doesn't. When you have two souls, I'm disagreeing. I'm saying that if you take anyone at any time, the reason why they were sacrificing was for the greater good. You give your child up for the sacrifice, and hopefully if we kill enough children, it'll rain, right? They didn't just do it for no reason. They thought they had a very good reason. Vikings would choose to sacrifice yourself every 4 years, I believe, right, Balderson? What was it? For every 6 years, whatever it was.
Not objective then, right?
No.
If they're doing it for the greater good, then morality is different everywhere.
It was their free will of an adult. We're not talking about free will of adults. We're talking about children.
7 years, and that's really kind of a Hollywood story. It's a very weird thing. I don't really understand it. There's actually only one reference in all the literature that actually directly refers to human sacrifice like that in the mythology literature. Not saying that it didn't happen in historically that people didn't do it, but in the mythologies, there's one poem that's a very weird offshoot poem, and it's actually about sacrificing horses.
There's just a lot of sacrifices going on in history.
Omar, there's what's the example of the Come Warriors of Papua New Guinea? Okay, this one we've heard a lot. It's a Andrew Wilson talking point, and it's an exact example that reflects what you're talking about. So the Come Warriors of Papua New Guinea basically pump the men pump the young boys with their thingamaboppers. I'm trying to not use certain words here, but I think is it in the rear end and then in the mouth or something like that, and they have to swallow the stuff and I don't know, some kind of weird fucked up shit, right?
What?
Fucked up. That's why I'm not using certain words. But in any event, this is how their culture does it, and they think it's perfectly good, and they think this is how you make young boys into grown men, and they all do this ritual. It's a thing. It's what they do. It's constant. It's continuous. Would you say that's morally wrong?
Yes.
I would say there's plenty of things wrong with it. It depends. You're saying the child. So, for example, apprentices during the Crusades, they would sleep with the knight before they became. And this was a common thing. There's tribes right now. The warrior tribes in all across, even in these mountains. So they subscribe to it.
The point. That's what I'm saying. Is the culture has the majority. Right. So they think it's perfectly fine, and they think it's a part of becoming a man. Right. So to them, morality is saying, no, this is good. This is part of who we are.
Yeah.
Now you and I may disagree with that, but what can we do about it at that rate?
So and also that proves it's subjective, because objective, none of us disagree. All of us agree that thing happened, that these people are doing that activity. They say it's good. We say it's not. That's subjective. The activity happening is objective.
Yeah, I'm not saying that because I think that's wrong, it's wrong. What I'm saying is that if you take any two people randomly, let's say you just take any random person and you at any time period and you hear a baby crying, what is the initial reaction that your heart would go? Nothing, or something's wrong, let me help. Right. That's what I mean by the internal moral thing that transcends God, the name of God, your belief of religions, and so on.
You're already applying your own belief structures on there.
I'm describing all of us.
What if you're a cannibal? What if you're a cannibal and you go, oh shit, that's free food? Baby
cannibals have children.
That's why I brought up the Aztecs and the Incas and the
I've met a cannibal tribe in Peru, by the way. I've met a cannibal tribe in Peru, by the way, and they have children. So that's the odd part about it. So
they eat other people's children. That's the key, right?
They eat the dead. They say they only eat the dead, and that's because of this ancestral situation. And there's a lot of magic involved with these people. I'm not suggesting. I'm not suggesting it, but there's.
How was the long pig? Was it good?
In there, I don't eat pig, but
no, the long pig.
What's that?
People. We need a little spin on this. What's Spin got to say about this?
Hold on, before Spin spins off, Fourth Wiseman comes up with the Big Ten, says the world is mine. If you want a piece of it, I'll send you a license so you can legitimately have a piece. Would you like it as a plastic card or in a paper script? This is how it all started. Shout out to you, Fourth Wiseman. We love you so much. All right, go ahead, Spin.
Listen, Stumpy, I would like your take on implied consent. I've been holding this question and stomaching through Shaman Omar's bullshit. I've been really meaning to ask this question. What is your take on implied consent?
Ask me what implied consent means, and then hear a joke.
It wasn't a joke. It was an actual question. And
what does implied consent mean?
And the little bitch up there won't answer it.
Bro, you're saying Stumpy. You're 5'6". You're 5'6". Go ahead.
Oh, he's on wheels, to be quite fair.
Thank you.
T-Jump, that was to you. So implied consent.
What about a tricycle?
Implied consent. What's your take on implied consent?
Implied consent is a pragmatic approach. It has nothing to do with morality. Morality is only relevant to true consent, but implied consent is the best you can do given the current situation. Like if someone tells you they consent, but they don't really or something, you can only go off what they say.
No, the other way around. So you get a license to drive, and because you got that license, you're implying that you're going to stop at all the stop signs, you're going to yield to all the
no one does that.
Merging and all, but that's the implied consent. So that is morally.
Well, I'd say like laws and things are involuntary impositions. You have to do them. They're not something you like genuinely consent to.
What if you and I, Tom, I was walking with you through the park and I was just kind of following you. And then upon following you, you took me into a cave and then bad things started happening, right? Would my implied consent would be that I followed you in there, assuming that whatever was going to happen in there was good. Like I'm following you, all is good.
If you don't actively consent, anything that happens to you is immoral. There's no implied consent is purely pragmatic. Objectively, you have to consent, like fully agreement consent for it to have any moral value.
Okay. Hold on. So I have to consent to go to jail.
For it to be moral, yeah.
How fucking stupid are you, bro? Seriously.
That's pretty basic philosophy.
Well,
like you have to be pretty dumb not to understand.
It's not philosophy, it's a fact.
Well, but even at that though, morality is not like necessarily built into the legal system. You know what I mean? So just because we do it and apply it doesn't mean it has to be on moral grounding.
Okay.
Wait. For example, other systems like
let me expand on this one just a little bit further. You said that you have to consent to die.
For it to be moral.
Your words.
For it to be moral.
Spin City put it this way: we're all immoral because he does not consent for us to disagree with him.
I think he's saying that
this is true. Husky, bro.
How is it
Absolutely.
No, that's a stupid argument.
How's it an
It is not a stupid argument. It is a stupid argument.
Spin. I think you'd have to look at it you'd have to look at it the other way. Would we be an immoral society by not putting someone behind bars who has unalived somebody else?
It would be a less moral, it would be more immoral.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, what Tom's doing is like it's a greater good to put somebody in jail than to not. Even though it's immoral based on his framework, he's still saying it is worth a greater good.
Less necessary.
Yeah, necessary. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, so I need to imply consent to whenever it is my time to go. I have to imply my consent to be.
Die? Yes. If you don't consent to die, you shouldn't die.
What if I don't consent to consent?
What happens if you don't? What will you do? Kill them?
This is why you're a moron, and this is why people are roasting the fuck out of you, dude. You
None of you have roasted anything other than yourselves.
You make my brain hurt, just like everybody else.
I'm sure it hurts by much simpler things than me.
Well, given where you live, my brain would hurt just to live there.
I'm sure your brain would hurt by pretty much like Teletubbies.
Teletubbies does hurt my brain. How do they have genitals and how do they reproduce?
That was a good question.
What's going on with that son? What's going on with that son?
Spin. I think you're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill over something that he's not. Like he's not in disagreement with you on the idea of going to jail is like he's not in disagree. He's making his claim that it's technically immoral based on my framework, but our society acknowledges that this is how we operate and it is the greater morality choice and option. You're fighting somebody who's not fighting you right now. Like it's a bad argument. Whatever you're trying, I don't think you know what. Like your argument doesn't go against him in his framework.
Let me try, Spin. So is it immoral to build a high wall around my property and keep all the grain stores away from the peasants?
No, your property, your rules.
So you believe in property rights?
I said that many times, like 6 times already.
Oh, that's interesting. That throws a whole new twist on this. So you
the
believe
thing that I've
property
already said like 6 times throws a new twist on.
Yeah,
things.
we went through the whole societal portion earlier.
I didn't hear that part.
It's just he's saying like a justified immoral action, meaning this person is going to jail, which is against their freedom, but it's for the greater good. So he's not saying that person shouldn't. I say it should be assassinated, it should be killed, but he's saying it's a justified immoral action for putting someone in jail to protect everyone
justify
else.
Another one. Yeah. And Clay, what he means is also with the property thing. If it was immoral for you to store a bunch of food and grains and whatever on your property, and this kind of goes into the humanitarian piece where was it Jeff Bezos has how many billions of dollars, right? God, wouldn't it just be nice if he just gave everybody a few $100, $1,000, whatever bucks, right? And help humanity and feed the world. Yeah, that's great. But we're not going to do that because that morality doesn't trump all of the others. And if we take from one, then we should be taking from all, right? So it kind of fucks with it fucks with the entirety of the system. And that takes away Jeff's rights as that person who earned that and did that to supply the rights of others who may have not.
But it doesn't work in a perfect scenario, though.
In a perfect scenario, food and money don't matter. Tom, I already asked Tom that earlier. Food and money don't matter.
T-Jump's perspective is also that because we live in this imperfect world, that the creator of it, if it goes to any of the Abrahamic gods, would be an immoral creator and thus not beyond that because of what we're dealing with, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I mean?
I already explained that was wrong because disease is good if you believe by that metric. Because if they hadn't done it, the Aztecs would have invaded and killed all the Abrahamic God worshippers. So, thank God for disease because it saved Europe from the base.
The Black Plague was but Black Plague was all Europe. That
was good for them. That was good for them. People died. Yeah, it killed Europe, but it gave them a stronger immune system. So when they came to America, guess who died? Not the Europeans. It was the Aztecs, and the Incas, and the Mayan. They all suffered because of that. So God saved the Europeans in the long term by making them suffer with the diseases. So that's a point for the Abrahamic gods. You're welcome.
I mean, that's like saying that you got what? That's like saying you got
raped by one guy,
but
we'll talk about it later.
Okay, I got another one. I got a good example.
But before you go off of this, Clay, I need to respond to this. An all-powerful God, doesn't need to enact suffering to be able to do this, though. You could just give humans the ability to resist the plague, anyways.
They could.
Yeah, but that's not fun.
Yeah, but it's also a moral imposition for them to do so. At least in my framework, that if it is the moral thing for him to do. In this case, then he ought to do it. The fact that he did not do it is him doing an immoral action in this case.
No, because if you go under my theory, might makes right. God's all powerful, so whatever he does is right and moral.
No, but you earlier said that God is subjective, though. You said God is subjective, not objective earlier.
Right, I did say that because if I don't believe in God and then everything's objective, right? And even if I do believe in God, God is almighty and might makes right and everything. So the only objective morality is might makes right, and that really kind of defeats all y'all's things. So I would agree.
The problem with might makes right is that it's just an absurd framework.
I can beat you up, therefore I'm right? So if we do a boxing match and I beat you up, you have to agree.
By the way,
I would actually say you're right in that case. I would no joke. I'd be like, he won. He was right. I was wrong. I'm a bitch.
Hey, Bones, let me apologize to Bones real quick. Bones, I apologize, man. You just talked like that. Balderson was right. I told you were reading a script earlier. I apologize. I retract that statement.
I'll say
Bones he's a regular here. We love Bones.
No, I retract what I said.
And as a kind reminder to the audience, backstage, I've got poor Effigy still hanging back there, and I'm pretty sure he is Tom's likely only ally on this panel. Omar's kind of in that territory, but he's playing the fence right now. Re-examination sitting back there. He's asking the chat to put him back up as well. Joseph is backstage and dashed in as well. So choose wisely. ladies and gentlemen. But if you want a panel shakeup, you are more than welcome to do so with a measly $10 to boot somebody else. And anybody panel squatting or somebody that just annoys the shit out of you, feel free to dump them. All right. So go ahead. Back to you guys.
Okay. So I have a scenario. I've traveled a very long distance across the desert. I'm extremely thirsty. I'm exhausted. I am going to die. If I don't get some, I find that there is a bottle with a few drops left. A man, actually it's a child. A child meets me at the same location, same exact scenario. He's been traveling a long distance across the desert. He's exhausted. He needs that water to survive. Who gets the water?
It is moral for you to give him the water. It would be moral for him to give you the water.
So you're morally fucked.
No, either of those would be moral. So like if you sacrifice yourself and give the water to him, that would be a moral action.
Would it be moral for me to take the water and drink it?
If it's not owned by anyone, it would be amoral for you to drink it.
And would it be moral for him to?
It would be amoral, yes.
So this whole scenario leans on this really just is whatever we decide. If he decides that he's going to fight me for it, or if I decide that I'm going to fight him for it, this might be a death scenario where both
that would be immoral.
Both
but
are,
Clay, is the fight taking place? Is the fight taking place on when you're walking on grass?
No, there's no grass. It's a desert.
No. Okay.
It's a desert.
Okay. Then you're not killing grass, so you haven't committed a moral act. Continue.
Real quick, back to pregnancy. Let's say you didn't abort the child, if you can say that on YouTube. Let's say you just before they were born, you removed both their arms so that when they were born, they had no arms. Is that morally acceptable or no?
That would be immoral. So like imposing constraints on a child, a conscious entity would be immoral.
So you can end their life, but you can't take away their arms.
If they consent to it, you can take away their arms.
Also, wait,
what?
Or is it just right before they're born too?
So are you specifically about abortion? I would say that aborting a child when it's conscious is immoral. It's a conscious agent, so killing it would be immoral. But it's a justified immoral action to protect the sanctity of the mother. So I would agree it's immoral to abort a living conscious entity, and it would also be immoral to take its arms off. Sure, yes.
But in the case of when he was on when the woman was on a starvation strike,
I never said that wasn't immoral. I don't know why you keep going back to that. So that
okay. I thought you said that. I thought you said that the nature of putting the baby inside the woman was immoral. I thought that's what you said.
Yeah, that's a different thing. So that causing pregnancy without consent is immoral. So like
but that was not the scenario.
Right. That's why I didn't talk about it just then. But you brought that up.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. So removing arms is bad. Killing them might not be bad. Okay, real quick though.
No. So if they're conscious, killing them is always bad. If they're conscious, it's always bad to kill them.
But if they're not conscious and you remove the arms before the consciousness, then it's fine to give the birth later without arms because at the time you took the arms off, they had no consciousness.
No, because you've imposed a constraint on them before they were conscious. It's still imposing a constraint on their body, so that would still be bad.
Okay, so even though the will is not there, that the will is irrelevant. Because the constraint came before will.
Well, no. So the creating a will isn't bad because you haven't imposed anything. But if you're complying constraints on that will, like damaging the body to once the will is then created to limit its abilities, that would definitely be immoral. So are
you saying there's a way a body ought be? Like there's an actual solid ontology to humanity that's immutable?
Well, yeah, it ought to be free for the conscious being to choose itself. That's what.
So that's prescriptive. There's an ought there.
No, I remember we already covered that you can have moral facts without oughts, but you can add oughts to any moral fact.
Okay, so I agree that I'm trying to get my arms, no pun intended, around what's going on here because if we're talking about will here, then I want to know at what stage will has play on this. For example, let's say let's say there's a guy who's a PDF file and he's just alone in his room and he's thinking PDF thoughts all the time, just drooling, slobbering in his room, being that kind of guy, right? And there's no actual victim. Did he do something immoral?
No, there is no thought crime. Thought crime is not a thing.
There's no victim.
Okay.
What if he? Okay, let's move on.
But also, from earlier, then it just sounds like that your morality in this instance does not stem from imposing on something's will, because you said that when you're removing the baby or the arms from the baby before they had before they were a conscious being, then it wouldn't have a will to impose upon them. So it can't be the case that it's immoral under your
So
view.
the immorality is implying restrictions to a consciousness, not the creation of the consciousness.
But
it doesn't matter if you apply those restrictions.
You've already demonstrated. You've already said that it wasn't conscious.
No, it doesn't matter when you apply the restrictions. If you're applying restrictions to a consciousness after it's created, that's immoral. Just the act of creation isn't immoral, but applying restrictions is. So, like, if you're going to, I don't know, glue sticks to the baby's back or whatever, that would also be immoral. It doesn't matter if it's before or after it's born.
So let's work off of that. Let's say that the mother knows, in this case, that the baby's going to miscarry before they're ever a conscious being. Does that make it immoral then to remove their arms and mess with their limbs, so long as that the baby's still alive before they're miscarried?
So yeah, if you know for a fact it'll never be conscious, then it wouldn't be moral or immoral.
But how do you know?
I don't know. That was he asked.
The hypothetical said he would know.
That's what I'm asking. But how do you know?
I've got a question.
That you would know that they aren't going to be conscious.
Is attaching the knowledge of good and evil into a single fruit immoral? Or should they have been two different fruits?
The fruits aren't conscious agents. You can do whatever you want to the fruit.
No, but we had to find out about both to eat one. Is that moral or immoral?
It was immoral to force them to be alive without that knowledge in the first place.
Well, but then what about kids?
Wait, so you
it's immoral to create human beings or conscious entities without full knowledge. Like that shouldn't be a thing.
What was the question, Omar? I'm sorry.
But then how?
So if they didn't have the knowledge of good and evil, then you can put the knowledge of good and evil. Okay.
God is all powerful. He can snap you into existence with full knowledge. You don't need to eat apples. You don't need to start as kids.
Yeah, but we're not talking about necessity, because earlier didn't you say something about not consenting to knowledge that you don't want, even if you're not aware that you don't want it?
Sure. We're talking Genesis, 6 billion people on Earth.
So if they're not even aware that they want it or don't want it, if they're not even aware that they want it or don't want it, how is that immoral? I thought you said
because a conscious being must start with a certain minimum level of ability to consent. That's like a requirement.
Is this an example of you attaching an ought to something or not? Because when you say you can attach oughts to something, does that mean
all moral facts can exist without oughts, but you can add oughts to any moral facts?
When you say you can ought, does that mean you can add oughts? Does that mean that the oughts exist when you add them, or they're all fictional?
They're all fictional.
So if we want, so there's no reason we ought to work towards the best possible world. It's just there is a best possible world, and we can work to it if we want to, but we don't have to. We can go for the worst possible world, and it's not actually violating anything to work towards the worst possible world.
It would be violating truth. That's what it'd be violating.
What would that matter? What gives value to truth then?
Whether you care, I don't care if you care or not.
No, I'm talking about objectively. If we're talking about if something is good or bad, we're making a value claim.
So like you are being immoral if you do immoral things. Whether you care, whether you think it matters, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What matters is the objective fact. You are doing immoral things. Now, if you want to say you ought not do immoral things, you can add that if you want. It's just irrelevant. It's just irrelevant to any moral system. You can just get rid of all of the oughts from every moral system, and it makes zero difference.
So, but when you say moral, you're making a claim about physical phenomena, because you say the mind and the will would be physical phenomena, right?
Well, in my case, no. Mine would be true even if they weren't physical. Just any mind, even if it's a non-physical mind, would still be under the same moral constraints.
But in your worldview, it is physical. Your thoughts are physical. The will is physical, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but does it follow? So it would follow the laws of physics, right?
Sure.
Right. But do the laws of physics preempt your thoughts?
Yes.
Do they guide your thoughts and tell your thoughts what to be before you think them?
Sure.
Okay. So then within physics itself is morality and immorality, and therefore it's not prescriptive. And then if it's not prescriptive, what makes anything best? What makes anything best?
None of that has to do with being prescriptive. Again, you don't need prescriptions. Prescriptions are out. You don't need them.
That's fine. But what does it mean to have the best physics?
The best physics. The best in this context is corresponding to the moral law. The most corresponding possible to the moral law is the best.
How does, if it comes from nature, how is nature not corresponding with itself?
Because there are multiple laws.
So the multiple laws are not harmonious within the same reality?
Right. Who imposed these laws?
Like gravity and electromagnetism. They don't work.
To that.
I agree that they're not the same and they're not on the same plane, but they exist in the same universe without violating the law of non-contradiction?
Everything exists in the same reality. It doesn't mean they all work together.
Right, but you would say that bad contradicts good, right?
Sort of.
Not
what do you mean, sort of?
bad and good, saying contradicts doesn't make any sense. They are like antithesis of one another. They don't contradict anything. There's not a logical contradiction between them.
So, but would you agree that something can't be unmitigated bad and unmitigated good in the same way at the same time, right?
Sure.
Right. Okay. So I don't know. I don't understand how you can say it's not prescriptive, and yet we should.
You never need the word prescriptive in morality. It's just throw that in the trash can. It's just garbage. You don't need it ever for any reason. You don't need it for nothing.
If I say we should stop teaching, let's say that every school.
Anytime you ever say should or prescribe, you can just say it is moral that X. And you can just get rid of you should do X. Just say it is moral at X. Anytime for any sentence ever used in any moral system where it ever says you should do or you ought do or we should think, just replace it with it is moral that X. Problem solved. You never need ought. You never need prescription. Those words are just not relevant to any morality ever.
Then if things just are what they are, how can you determine what a best universe is if you're talking about moral law? Because law sounds prescriptive.
And some things don't correspond to the moral law. Some things correspond to it, which are moral. Some things don't correspond to it, which are not moral. It's very simple. This is extremely simple.
Who should survive? Is it the guy with the crabs or the guy without the crabs?
I don't even know.
Both of them should die.
I mean, because in all seriousness, bro, if you got crabs and you ain't washing because you think all of a sudden they get some type of special treatment because it's about consent.
But the crabs did not consent to being washed. The crabs did not consent to being washed. You cannot morally wash them.
Well,
saying
they wouldn't have a will though. They don't have like sufficient consciousness.
Cutting your hair, they'll be washing your hair.
Right. Crabs
were you immoral to yourself?
Wait, are you talking about crabs the disease or crabs the the crustacean?
Well, they're both crustaceans.
Well, the question is
crab.
There's crabs like STD.
The question is, were you immoral for yourself?
Yes, so all conscious agents should be given their own world. None of them should be killed. No conscious agent should ever be killed.
So if you get leech on you because you were swimming in the wrong water, you're going to leave
the moral to kill a conscious agent. Yes.
So you're going to leave the leech on you?
No, I'm going to kill it.
So
because they'd argue that the leech isn't a moral conscious agent.
But it's not morally right to kill it.
I don't know. Maybe if it's not, then it's not.
So what he's saying that like consciousness is what's necessary for will in this case, and since the parasite doesn't have a consciousness, then it's not going to be immoral to kill it.
No, he's saying
I'm assuming his argument assumes that the crabs are conscious, and so I'm just granting that.
I did pass it to animals. I said it to you. I said, does this also pass to animals? A leech is an animal. Regardless of
it's making a more complicated argument that they don't have the capacity.
It's a parasite, but it's an animal. Let's be clear.
And you said, and I quote, it is not morally right to kill animals.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
This is the fight of survival argument, okay? So who should survive? Should it be the agent that
Everyone should survive.
In Admiral Gibbs's reality, if they don't have an American Social Security number, they're already a lesser agent.
Well, hold on. Illegal.
I find that factually
correct.
And this goes to like dogs, pets, right? So dogs are like slaves to us, essentially. Yep. They have no idea that they are slaves, but they are, right? When you say that they have to consent to that, dogs don't consent to living outside.
Right, which is immoral.
There's some outside dogs. They
Right.
just
What
want to
What prevents this from being trivially true, like water is water? What prevents this from just being saying that things that are happening in the universe are happening in the universe?
Correspondence to a law of physics isn't trivially true. It requires some kind of empirical verification. It's not.
There is empirical verification.
Is it like two-step verification? Like they send you a number to your phone to be alive?
Will leech us. They will leech us. They will. There's
okay, can we move on to a serious point that I've already addressed?
Recognizing is just
kind of. You haven't drank beer out of a boot. Have you? Are you really alive?
Correct.
Fourth Wiseman with the Big Ten says an unborn in the womb is conscious beyond what the worldly paradigm can comprehend. They're pure, unbridled, and extremely intelligent. It's only when birthed do they require reminding navigation. Omar, you got your hand up on that one. Go ahead.
No, I completely agree. Fourth Wiseman knows exactly what he's talking about.
So consciousness, I don't believe, begins until the third trimester. I don't remember.
This fucking guy.
I think it's between 20 and 24 weeks is generally accepted.
Before we move forward, Omar, we are down to 4 minutes for our dono goal, and the chat has not hit it. They are currently sitting at 3 out of 10. What do you need to tell them for this amazing fun time you're having?
It's time to quit fucking around. Send in your donations so we can continue. T-Jump has just warmed up. I haven't seen any big arguments against anything. It's about to get serious. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of attacks shortly as the full moon passed last night. The wolves are about to come out. And if you want to see that happen, continue.
That's right. We're only 4.5 hours in, ladies and gentlemen. You know we got a whole night going for us. Ben, what do you tell them? Tell them.
I understand that the problem is you all are as confused as I am by the magic morality system going on here. But if you pay, how many donations do we got left?
Now we have 6 more.
6 more donations. We can solve this and end all the world's problems, or maybe just make the whole magic thing happen. We all get a pony and we can wear boots on our head.
Hell yeah. I'm all about getting a pony.
Supreme.
Clay, tell them what they need to do, sir. They've got 3 minutes left.
Do it for the boll weevils. Do it for the crabs. Make sure they survive. It's the morally correct thing to do. Or it's the moral thing to do, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, donate.
Donate. You got less than 3 minutes. Admiral Gibbs, you're not done yet. We know you're ready to party on.
We just warming up, folks. I'm excited. You're excited. Everybody excited. And sorry, I had to go grab something. God damn it, I dropped it again. I tell you what, boys. If you want the wild times to continue, you better open up them wallets. Because, me and Husky over here, we're wilding out. We're ready to get excited. And the only way I'm able to deal with these panels is copious amounts of this. All right, cheers, guys.
I think that deserves a dono right there. And while we're on it, I'm just going to say Fourth Wiseman dropped a big 50. So that actually leaves one more left. One more dono, ladies and gentlemen, and you are scot-free. I'll hand it to Reexamination. I know you're not done yet, sir. You're definitely just getting started with this. What do you tell the crowd? You're not ready to go home?
No, if we get more money, maybe we can find out why Admiral Gibbs' vacuum is right behind him.
It's because we hit our stream goal for the month last month, and I fired off 10 confetti cannons, so the vacuum didn't move it out of here.
I love it. Husky, what you got going on?
I do not consent to not doing shoeies. Please donate.
Donate so Husky can do more shoeies on stream. It gets more creative. It gets grosser. It gets, oh God, that's his fucking boot. And you wore that all day at work today, didn't you? Oh, you make me
today we live in the future. It's Friday, so technically it's a public holiday.
Let me know what the lottery numbers are tomorrow. Spin. You're not done. You're always a champion here, lasting until the end. Tell them, Spin.
If you want to hear this dumb fuck talk about implied consent with his swimmers that are never going to make it up to through a uterus, you need to donate $10.
That's all we need.
Implied consent.
$10 more. That's all we need. One more fat dono of a big yellow one. That's all we need. Bones, you can do it. You can convince them. You got 40 seconds left.
We have yet to bring up the great Spike, the ontologically necessary and primary being, and I'm sure that the rest of the panelists want to hear this too, because it is the ultimate defeater against every single religion possible. Just believe in Spike, and he'll cut away all of your worries.
No, all of your worries will go away in 30 seconds if you don't get that last and final dono in the house. While I'm on donos, and one more should be coming in the door. If not, Tomato gets mad, and then you find out why I'm the Raging Tomato. Calvin, at TJ, is he being amoral by shushing other beings, thus restricting their rights to speak whenever and however they choose towards him? If so, is amoral sometimes necessary? That's a good question.
He's just watched Always Sunny a few times.
Morality only applies to yourself and your property, so it is neither moral nor immoral. So it is amoral for me to shush them and for them to stop speaking.
Panel, what say you?
That they might have free will, the desire to speak, and you're impinging on that.
That's what I've said.
Reality.
Any moment where I'm not speaking is an imposition against my will. I will say that.
I think that you're wrong, and I do not consent to being wrong. So you can't say I'm wrong.
There you go.
Consent.
Fourth Wiseman, of course, helped the panel and the audience out. Everybody, that is my second favorite color, dropped onto the chat. You know I love my second favorite color as well as my first favorite color. So that means tomatoes in the chat in regards to Fourth Wiseman. Everybody say your thank yous. He says, top it off, folks. I can't stay much longer. And of course, Spin City just couldn't let that $10 get in the way of his panel time. Wiseman and I own the panel now. Yes, we've got the Fourth Wiseman owns this channel, bitches. There you go. This is Fourth Wiseman's channel now. Well, I own this channel, and I say that Fourth Wiseman now owns you. You do not have consent. And of course, Texas Bully Mom wanted to try to make sure she got that last one in the door. I will count it as a win. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a big round of applause in the chat. Tomatoes everywhere. Hit that goal if you're a membership person. We love you. Bing, bing. Thank you. And as a reminder, I've got Effigy, Aunt Joseph, and Dashton hanging out backstage. If you want us to do any panel switch ups, you are more than welcome to. All right, back to you guys.
Lions and Tigers.
Yes, I'm nice to be owned. Yes, I'm massive. Sorry.
Go ahead, Clay.
Lions and Tigers and Bears. I still haven't heard something valid on this. Survival. You really kind of just don't have an answer for that. When it comes to who should survive, is it me or the little boy who we meet in the sand that we should what? One of us has to drink.
Well, no, he did, because he kind of utilized the trolley concept, but also said it's still better for society. Right now, even though an act may be immoral, it is still for the greater good of society to do X, Y, or Z. So he did, like, he is saying, I think if I'm hearing you correctly, Tom, like, yeah, if you're going to eat meat, yeah, it might be immoral, but if that's for your survival, then it is still for the greater good. Did I get that right?
I think
Tom?
So.
Okay.
But it falls down to
necessary into the ground and chug the water.
If it falls down to necessary evil, what you're telling me is that evil is part of the good.
No part of that did I say.
Mm-mm. He
that would be called Satanism.
He's saying there's mitigations.
Hold up. Satanism is actually like just secular humanism for the most part. So there's not actually anything wrong with pretty much every version of Satanism. It's a weird belief.
How about raping children? Is that not wrong?
That's wrong. It's not a part of Satanism.
It's wrong under secular humanism.
Sorry. I'm amateur.
You got a bit emotional there.
Sorry.
No, have we talked about?
You're allowed to say words like in life.
Before I go over retreaded ground,
when I say like do bad things to kids, right? Like we have to work around it on purpose. Re-examination. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I came in late, so forgive me for going over retreaded ground because I came in late and I was trying to familiarize myself with your views. Did we already cover parenting and subverting, going over kids' will for the greater good of like parenting? You would say that it's still wrong to tell kids what to do as parents, but ultimately it would be for the greater good by the projection that we've made of what that would end up being if we just say, no, you got to do what I say because I care about you and I know better.
Yeah, so in many cases, we force kids to do things for their own good. So like stopping them from running into the streets, which is a justified immoral action. But a lot of things in parenting are just straight up immoral, like stopping them from playing or making them go to bed early. There's a lot of things that are just you shouldn't do. Spanking. So a lot of parenting is just straight up immoral because it's on bad reasons, but most of it is justified immoral action.
What's wrong with the spanking?
I'm gonna beat all y'all asses.
The science shows that it causes psychological harm with no psychological benefit.
Not when Sarah does it.
I do see psychological benefit. You won't fucking do that again.
Actually, the opposite is usually the case.
Well,
I don't know, and I know it's anecdotal, but I'll never forget when my daughter, she was like 3 years old, And I think she had a crayon and she was getting ready to color on the wall. And I looked at her and I said, no, you're not going to color on the wall. And she gave me like that shit-eating grin and like, yes, the fuck, I'm going to do it. Right. And she began to do it. And I gave her a countdown. And the countdown was the cue of you're about to fuck around and find out. And I said 3, 2, 1. At 1, she was still coloring. So she got a nice little ass spank. Right. And then guess what? Any other time going forward after that, when I said 3, whatever she was doing stopped. I didn't have to spank her going forward ever again because she said, no, that hurts. I'm not going to do it. And so when mom says X, Y, and Z, I should probably X, Y, and Z.
So
it is total.
Do you think that it's good
got
to
the equal level of find out?
Yeah.
But do you think that it's moral to have someone's actions be stopped by the fear of them getting hurt by someone else?
It's more along the lines of I told you not to do something and there are consequences if you don't listen to what I do. And this goes into a safety measure. If you are in the parking lot with your child and your child says, fuck this, I'm running out in the middle of the parking lot, and you tell them stop, they need to understand that if I don't stop, there are consequences. Now, that consequence may not be me smacking their ass. It may be a car running them
smacking
over.
their ass.
So they have to know I'm telling you something because there are potential consequences that could be even greater than a spanking.
So here's the thing. If there was a way to get the same result without physically harming the child or causing them fear, would it be moral to still spank them if you could have done the same goal with a less harmful action?
Absolutely
if
not.
you
Because they're going to immorally make you have to tell them 50 times when you could just spank them once.
But we've already seen this. We've already seen this test. We've seen gentle parenting bullshit, and it's nothing but little assholes running around now, and kids that have absolutely no respect for adults.
Yeah.
Which peer-reviewed papers are you
kids have
going off?
Have you been to LA? Have you been to LA?
So the overwhelming consensus.
This isn't gentle parenting.
The overwhelming consensus of modern psychological and developmental research indicates that spanking is ineffective for long-term behavior modification and is consistently linked to increased aggression, mental health issues, and antisocial behavior in children. While it may achieve immediate compliance through fear, it fails to teach self-regulation and often replicates the very behaviors it seeks to suppress. Scientifically, the evidence shows that spanking is counterproductive and doesn't work in this better.
How do you explain me?
I want to know how many fucking scientists there had kids and has dealt with kids and been around kids. Because oh my God, like, I mean, being a parent, you're around kids all the time and you can tell which ones don't get their butts spanked. And I'm not saying beating them and abusing them, right? I'm just talking like a little smack on the tush. You're not putting red marks on them. You're not like to the definition of where CPS is getting called, but I mean, you know the difference between parents who are gentle parenting their kids because their kids are assholes and they're spoiled little fuckers and they're disrespectful to everyone in the room. And then there are parents who their kid's not going to push any fucking limit with them and they're going to listen.
Discipline with spanking. So you're confusing parents who don't do discipline and who are just bad at it with parents who spank. So like you can have obedient children by actually learning how to be good at parenting without having to spank them, and it's not the kind of
They say
like that all the time. Into your little study because you know what they were taught by their parents.
Amazing.
Those fucking retards up in high society who are doing all these fucking studies.
I think you should have been spanked.
I'm sorry,
more.
Clay. Did you ever read the study?
My man, listen to me, my man.
Have you ever read the study, Clay?
That shit right there is exactly why they don't.
He hasn't read anything. I don't think he can read.
I agree.
I think you've got to confuse.
Those kids didn't participate in that study.
And how do you know this?
Because I'm fucking one of them, stupid. I don't.
So you haven't read. So you didn't. So you haven't read the study.
I definitely got some discipline. Yeah, I got some discipline.
So you have no. So you have no clue. The answer is you have no clue. So Clay, you have no clue what the study says because you have.
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what the study says, bro.
Okay, what's the name of the study? Wait, what's the name of the study?
And it's the same fucking bullshit studies that have been traveling through the fucking into the fucking libraries for how long now? It's psychology, it's sociology. Oh, the scientists told us that this is better.
Clay hasn't read the study. He's not engaging with the study. I'm so sorry. Clay.
We could probably figure out on panel who has been spanked in their life and who hasn't. And usually it's the ones that have respect for authority or respect for others. Fuck your study. I don't even give a fuck. And half these studies that come out, I have very little faith in a lot of them. I know that there's a lot of debates about whether studies are even solid and who's running them and who's funding them and yada 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 yada. I just have very little hope. But even at that, if you're a parent, you know which kids. And you know what? You know how I know? When my kids come home and other people, like let's say he's at a friend's house and their parents talk to me and they tell me that he's such a good kid. He's so respectful, XYZ, because that motherfucker knows, don't fuck around and find out. You don't have to beat them to a pulp. You just have to do it a couple times to let them know, listen, we're not going to do this. You will respect adults. And again, I will say it, and I would put my life on it. Gentle parenting is absolute horse shit. It's hogwash. I've never seen it work. I've never ever seen it work. I understand you're saying there's a difference between discipline and
they're all fucked.
Parenting, yes.
It's all the
depends
parenting.
on the kid. Depends on the kid.
Beat their children. We understand that part.
Yeah, they're shitty people.
Is beating.
Discipline. Dumbasses.
Spanking is beating.
You're also applying a false dichotomy between gentle parenting and spanking your children. There's obviously other styles of parenting that isn't just gentle parenting.
So my question. Hold on,
Clay.
So my question for Sarah would be: do you think that it's impossible for parents to adequately discipline their kids without spanking, so that they're the ones who other parents are saying, "Oh, your kids are so good"? Do you think it's just impossible that can't happen?
I don't think it's likely that you could get away unless you have a kid that's like a mute and doesn't do anything because they're like just kind of hang there and they're not very active and they don't know, usually there's some other things in the way of them fucking around to find out, right? But I would put money on the idea that most parents who have kids who are respectful towards authority more than likely have spanked their kids at least a few times in their life.
So you
not the other way around.
Study of 160,000 kids who shows that the vast majority of them that they're the most adherent to social standards don't get spanked. You'd say no, they're wrong. That
160,000 kids.
I want to know what state.
Yeah, where did they pull this from? Are they all Mormons?
The study is called Gershoff and Grogan Kaler Meta-Analysis 2016.
I cannot trust anything with that big a fucking name, bro. What the fuck?
Do you have a link to it that you could drop in the back? I know people probably want to pull it.
They sound Swedish to me, and I don't want my kids to be Swedish.
Is there a chat thingy in the StreamYard somewhere?
Yeah, the private chat button over there. You could put anything back there. While you're doing that, Calvin.
Put it in the right place?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
Wait, did I already read this one?
I
didn't. I apologize. It's new. Hold on. I apologize, Calvin. I didn't see this come up so soon. TJ says you confirmed justified immorality as it relates to disciplining children. If true, can't God have justified immorality in terms of his creation? Also bring up effigy down Husky. All right, Husky, go do your booties backstage. And poor Effigy, been hanging back there. He's like Tom's only ally here, I think. All right, and I'll leave it to you to answer the question.
Hold up. So a justified immoral action is a action that you have to do because you don't have the power to do a less immoral action. So like in the case of the trolley problem, when you flip the switch to kill the 1 instead of the 5, it's only justified because you can't snap your fingers and save all 6 of them. If you're an all-powerful being who can snap their fingers and save all 6 of them, there's no such thing as a justified immoral action. You're an all-powerful being. So no, God does not have any justified immoral actions because he's an all-powerful being. So he doesn't limited to doing one immoral action. He can solve them all with the snap of his fingers.
Yeah, but the one that you saved was an essayer.
They're people too, all conscious agents.
But all of the ones that didn't get saved are not essayers. They're not criminals at all.
So all-powerful God should save literally every conscious agent and give them their own world and make it physically impossible for anyone to harm anyone without consent. That's the moral thing to do if you're an all-powerful being.
Oh my God, you don't even live in reality.
Sorry, again, I was late.
Magic Sky Daddy.
Define justification for me. How does justification work?
My belief, but it's
morality?
not. Living
because if you're considering a list of actions you could take, how do you decide which one is justified and which ones are unjustified?
So the justified action is the action that does the least harm, which you are physically capable of doing.
I understand what you said. It's just very hard for me to think about using a moral guidepost and not calling it or referring to it as prescriptive. I'm just stuck on that. You'll have to bear with me.
Again, so any moral fact, you can say it without prescription and you can say it with prescription. It's like two sides of the same coin, heads or tails. You can say it is moral to do X, and you can say you should do X.
But when I hear you say
moral act is either you can say prescription, you can say it without prescription. You don't need prescription.
So when I hear you say moral, what you've been discussing is whether or not it imposes on somebody's will. Is that correct?
Yeah. Without consent.
Without consent. So I from that rubric, I can see a lot of immoral actions, but is it a
moral actions would be a voluntary assistance of will. Immoral is an involuntary imposition of will. So if you want to do a moral action, someone would have to want help and you help them essentially.
So even if that moral action would lead, again, I fear that I'm just retreading ground, but just for my own sake, even if that voluntary assistance would help in a goal that would further on prevent somebody else's goals, that would be immoral by proxy?
Yeah, so like your will only applies to yourself and your property, so if you will harm on someone else, it would not be moral to help that person.
But if you weren't aware, then it would be actually moral. It wouldn't be ambiguous. It would be moral to help a person if you didn't know that their ends were to somebody's.
It would still be immoral. So, like, if you have a consequence of some kind of natural thing you didn't perceive, you still caused an immoral action you just didn't know about.
Okay, so ignorance would not be an excuse.
No.
All right. Fourth Wiseman says, raise the young to be independent. The sooner the better for all involved. Practical things shared in a fun way imprints better than a meager conversational description. Monkey see, monkey do. Any thoughts from that?
Does anyone know who Fourth Wiseman is? He drops like the most he drops like bombs the whole night.
Don't worry about it. Fourth Wiseman's channel. That's why this is his channel.
Has he ever shown his face on and talked, or has he just dropped like philosophical masterpieces?
Does he have to be on a panel in order to be dropping philosophical masterpieces?
I'm asking. It's more. I mean, you know, I can put this bag on my head. You can be curious who I am. I don't know.
What was it? There is.
What are you fucking jealous?
Oh my God, you're so weird, bro.
What are you? No, seriously, are you fucking jealous?
Hold on, Spin. You took it completely the wrong way. He's just
retarded.
Saying...
That's why, you guys.
All right, real quick, T-Jump. Would you say that?
Hold on. Sorry, examination. 1 second. Spin.
God, I can't even praise the man.
I gave him a compliment. Do you not understand? As a compliment? Was it my tone or with my words? Which one was it?
It's you, period. You fucking freak.
It's your racist fucking lens. That's the problem, buddy.
While you guys are on that, I want to point out that T-Jump, your study that you cited, it says effect sizes did not substantially differ between spanking and physical or abuse or by study design characteristics.
I was just reading that too, actually, and I thought that was interesting because, I mean, if you're saying that these kids are actually being physically abused, then yeah, they're probably going to see significant harm.
Right, and it makes sense because they asked the children and not adults about when they were a child. These were studies done on children.
What does this have to do with my point?
Essentially, do children lie?
So what does it have to do with my point?
Okay. Here's how we could say it, right? To me, if I were to spank a child right now, and I know that my hand didn't turn red, the child's butt didn't turn red, it like didn't even hurt my hand to hit them, but to that child, it because it's a shock. It's a shocking moment for them. Like, oh my God, it's a wake up call, right? To them, they may think, oh my God, she hurt me. She hurt me. This was terrible. So to them, it could be on a scale of 1 to 10, right?
The point was that you can have better outcomes by not spanking. Whether the spanking was hard or super hard, I don't care. The point was that not spanking has better outcomes. That's the only. So whether that they differentiated between spanking and spanking hard, I don't care.
You're just making an inference based on your feeling.
Sarah, was that not my point? My point was that you can have better outcomes with kids without spanking, and I said that spanking is abuse. I literally said both of those things.
Yeah, you said that. We heard it 1,000 times already, and it's bullshit. It's still bullshit.
Why are you
every time you say it?
Weather effects.
You tried to cite a study.
Also, Clay, you're not even like reading it properly.
Between the spanking or the physical abuse in the study.
The effect sizes didn't change. That just means that the effect sizes are going to be roughly the same between physical abuse and spanking.
Children don't know the difference.
No, you can't read the fucking study. You can't read. Why are we letting the literary read shit? Okay.
It's a good argument, Bones.
I think the point would be that the adults don't know the difference.
Does that mean that?
I'm an adult. I know
Clay, so your misinterpretation of the study is not an argument, by the way. It's the fact that it works against you. It works against you.
What are the? Can I ask? I'm trying to actually read the fucking. I see just an abstract, similar articles, references. I'm trying to actually get to.
So, do you have a PubMed account?
No.
Real quick, PubMed account because there's a 1 second. There's a full text link. If you look to the right of the title, there's a free text on PubMed as well.
Oh, thank you.
And it's a full text.
Okay. I guess my question would be, what are the what was I looking for? The detrimental child outcomes. Like, what is deemed as detrimental? Like what?
I read those earlier. I can find it again. Remember, I read that quote specifically about what they were.
Okay.
The most effective alternatives. No, that's not it. Was the overwhelming consensus of modern psychological and developmental research indicates that spanking is ineffective for long-term behavioral modifications and is consistently linked to increased aggression, mental health issues, and antisocial behavior in children.
Words.
Yes, those are words that I can read because I am.
I don't think you read any fucking thing that makes any goddamn sense.
Clay, you got called out for misinterpreting the abstract. I don't know why you want to talk about other people not being able to read when you yourself can't fucking read. You're retarded. Stop typing up to make retarded points. You make yourself look dumber.
Word for word, you have a problem.
You make yourself look dumber every time you type up. So shut the fuck up.
I'll read it again for you since you can't understand it.
Please hang yourself. Please hang yourself on this again. Do it. Yes. Do it.
Between spanking and physical abuse or
Clay.
So what
does that mean, Clay? Can you tell us what that means?
Children were being interviewed, and the children being interviewed don't know the difference between spanking and physical abuse. That's literally what it's talking about. Because you interviewed children. Children fucking lie, dude. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The reality is that not all spanking is abuse. And you think it is because you're a fucking retard. Let me ask you something.
Part of the study is...
Wait, Clay. I do grant that you're a child because you can't
understand. Clay, chill.
When was the last time
I do grant that.
You got
all right, let's just let these two do this.
Yeah, please.
All right, so...
Yes. When was the last
time to have another lesson, Clay? Time to have another lesson, Clay. This time it's in.
Hey, listen.
It's in English right now.
It's a question.
So wait, no.
Last time that you got into a physical fight?
What does this have to do with the study?
When was the last time you got into a physical fight? Or
what does this have to do with the study?
When was the last time you got into a physical fight?
This is does this have to do with the study?
Abuse
What does this have to do with the study?
Because you were running
Clay,
your cocksucker.
I understand that you lost really hard in this point. Now that you have a moment to spurt about and ramble about something completely irrelevant to this, we both know that you're just trying to escape the fact that you misinterpreted the abstract of the study that you didn't read. You were very, very confident about the fact that you read the study and you know it's bullshit. But when you read the thing that thinks proves your point, it actually doesn't prove the point. In fact, it's completely irrelevant. So when studies are talking about effect sizes, by the way, it's talking about
yeah, exactly. Nothing.
So are you ready to engage with the point, or did you want to talk about more?
Ramble, motherfucker, ramble. You were rambling before, but when I say go...
So I was talking about the subject at hand, which was the study. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You were asking me what my last fight was. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't engage with things that are just off the topic right here. So that was clearly off the topic.
Yeah, it's cool.
I grant that you have really massive. I grant that you can't track. I grant that you can't read. I grant that you're very arrogant, but you know nothing. I grant all that. I grant all that. But what I don't grant is what is the point that you're trying to make with the study. That's what I don't grant. So I'm gonna just read it. I'm gonna read the abstract again for you, the part that you thought helped you here. Effect sizes do not substantially differ between spanking and physical abuse or by the study design characteristics. What this is saying is that the effect of the thing that they were trying to measure did not differ when we were talking about either the physical abuse or the spanking or by the study design themselves, meaning that it's consistent if you use either different designs or whether you label it physical abuse or spanking.
Have you ever bullied anybody? Have you ever had any type of
ready to come back to the conversation?
Do you
Clay, are you ready to come back to the conversation? Are you ready to come back to the conversation, Clay?
Have you ever been in a physical altercation, Bones?
Have I ever been in any physical altercation? Yes.
Okay, so then you know that physical altercation can teach you something. Surely.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn by other things.
What does it teach you? What does the physical altercation teach you?
Depending on the result, it could teach you either to fear the other person, or it could teach you not to do certain things, or it could teach you to do other things like de-escalate and certain things. Like it could just teach you all sorts of things.
Does it also teach you consequences for your actions?
I mean, obviously.
Can it also teach you consequences for your words?
I mean, obviously, but do we need the physical abuse? Wait. Do we need spanking, or do we need physical abuse, or do we need physical altercations to learn things?
I didn't say physical abuse. I just said physical altercations.
Oh, wait. I said there were like 3 other things there. Did you not listen?
You can break down physical altercations into various categories.
Yeah. So is it necessary? Is a physical altercation necessary to learn things? Is a physical altercation necessary to learn other things? Now that we're off the study and you've lost on that, by the way.
Yeah, I know the study's bullshit anyway.
yeah. To you, the illiterate person who can't read the fucking study.
I want common sense.
Well, yeah. You're a
common sense results. You don't have
the audience who has at least 50 IQ points between you and them. By the way,
I won't bring scriptures into it.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Were you? I'm so sorry. I don't understand like the retard babble that you're doing. I don't care about the retard babble that you're doing. I don't care about the retard babble that you're doing. Okay.
We can have the conversation about.
I do not care about the retard babble that you're doing. So
common sense.
You've already lost on the study. We've already it's trivially true that certain actions teach you that consequences occur. No one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck about this like obvious thing.
There's consequences.
What we do give a fuck about, and the reason why you decided to go on a 1v1 with me, by the way, the reason why we're doing this 1v1 is because of the study and the fact that you can't read. So I'm much happier to talk about why you're illiterate at this point, because we've already demonstrated that you're illiterate. We've already demonstrated that you're arrogant and illiterate, and we've already demonstrated that you speak not right here. And I am here graciously trying to teach you, 1, some manners, and 2, some literacy. So, all right, let's read this. Let's read this sentence right here. Effect sizes do not substantially differ between spanking and physical abuse or by study design characteristics. Can you tell me what an effect size is? Have you been listening? Let's hear it.
Bro, I'm about common sense.
Damning non-answer. So anyways, for anyone in the audience, by the way, no one should ever listen to Clay.
I'm trying to actually read this because I'm reading where they actually did differentiate and say we realized when whoever first did this study included a physical abuse, but I'm to the part where they said we went and separated it out. So I'm reading further to see kind of where they landed on that. But they did initially do this study and included physical abuse in the negative effects of regular spanking. So what Clay initially read was correct, and they're correcting themselves by furthering the study. Yeah.
So no. What he was trying to imply that there was like no effect, basically that. He was basically saying that it didn't really study anything effective here. What an effect size is specifically is just whatever metric that we're looking at right here. How effective would it be, or rather, how much of an impact would it have in the literature to say some certain claim that physical abuse or spanking is like a negative or negative? And going back to the abstract, what the abstract said is that when you account for either physical abuse or spanking, the effect sizes did not change. So what it's just saying is that between the study designs, the effect size outcome was still the same.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that I understand exactly what Bones is trying to say, that physical abuse and spanking probably registers the same way for a child, especially like the onset and the younger they are, it's the same thing, right? And I get it. But there's a big difference between the Society of Athens and the Society of 300. So then the question is it a moral responsibility for us to strengthen and toughen our men so we don't get conquered by the societies that actually make strong men? And does spanking and correcting in a physical, threatening manner make men stronger or weaker? And which one's better for the longevity of a society and maybe an empire?
Basically, you're building a bunch of bitches if you aren't spanking your kids.
It depends on who they are. I mean, if I didn't get spanked by my father, I'd be in fucking prison. I'd be an arch criminal.
This is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. You can tell which kids haven't been spanked, and you can tell which kids have.
If
personal testimony outweighs evidence, guys.
Well, I'll give you an example. Actually, this might hurt my point, but listen, I took a lot of ass beatings. I was a terrible child. They didn't work, but I was ADHD. You know what did work? They made me rub my nose in the corner for 30 minutes, and I went crazy because I couldn't do other shit. So some kind of physical discomfort that actually affects you is good. Whether it's spanking, whether it's country ass whippings, whether it's pushing a quarter with your nose down the tile, whatever it takes. Sometimes you gotta get a whooping.
I got a 15-second story. When I was born during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. And when I turned 1 year old to 6, my dad went back there and he was interrogating people. But he was interrogating basically turncoat Afghans and Soviet captures, right? So when he came back, I'm 6. So he had very special, unique ways of getting to the bottom of who left the toilet seat up, right? And so what that did was transform me into a man. You understand? Not a coward, but at the same time, maybe it would have, I don't know. But I have 4 brothers and none of us are bitches. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. You just know. You could sit here and say, oh, that's anecdotal all day. Yeah, I would too. But at the same time, what I see around me, it's I also think that there are other features that have to be built in. That's why I want to try to deep dive where these kids are from, what their parents do, because I think you'd have to be negating that fact, right?
Yeah.
If you are impoverished, living in the city, and your parent is spanking your ass, you already are below level for being of a normal grounding to begin with. So you are more likely to hit all of these other bad points anyways.
Nothing to take away.
They have nothing to lose. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. But if you're up in suburbia and you live in, white picket fence, 2 kids and a dog, right? And I remember like just the threat of my mom saying, "Just wait until your father gets home."
Yeah,
that was enough. That was enough.
Over.
I was like, "Fuck."
Oh my God.
Fucked, right? And then you're on your best behavior. Yeah, you're on your best behavior because you're like, shit, maybe if I'm good, she won't tell him. And usually that worked, right? We straighten the fuck up. But I think, I don't think you should be spanking your kids all day, every day. I think that is a form of abuse. But like I said, the example with my daughter, all it took was one example.
Me too.
Every time after that, all I had to do was say the number 3, and she knew what the fuck was coming. She's like, nope, not doing that anymore.
I smacked myself
that doesn't
times.
teach. That doesn't teach moral agency.
That just teaches you to fear the result without doing it, even if it's harder to do.
Bones is also right though, because some kids absolutely don't need to be. And I'm sure there are parents that were spanked and go right to spanking someone. Like, let's say Bones didn't. Let's say he always listened, right? And maybe if his parents were smacked, then he gets smacked unnecessarily because he was already listening. But then the perception of, were you listening to the degree or moving fast enough, right? So, I mean, but it depends on the kids. But in my reality, if I wasn't smacked, I'd be in fucking prison by 17, guaranteed.
But is it not? But isn't the part of the study that said there was an increase of aggression not also understandable? That a kid who is raised with someone using violence to teach them lessons.
Agreed. I'm an ultra violent person.
Violence is a first choice.
Agreed. My dad also put me in martial arts at 11. I was fighting Muay Thai at 17. My entire 20s, I was fighting kickboxing. But I don't act violent on people.
But with that,
I think violent tendencies.
With that, it is still the parents' responsibility to teach them that form of self-control, respect for authority, and so on and so forth. It's not just I'm going to spank you and it'll fix everything. No, there's a responsibility. Like with great power comes great responsibility, and you don't just spank that. This is the problem. This is why when you're in the city, I'm just gonna use it as an example because I fucking have seen it. But when you're in the city and it's the poor kids that go to the crappy schools and yada yada yada, that's all their parents do is just yell at them and spank them. There's no actual structure. There's no format. Kids love structure. They love daily routines. They love discipline. They thrive off of it. But if you don't have all of that and all you do is beat their asses, well, they don't know what's right from wrong at that point anyways. All they know is they just get spanked. That's it. So that's all they do is push outward. There's more responsibility that comes with it. I'll step off my soapbox.
I agree with you, Tomato.
You know what? I'm not even done. I'm not done with my soapbox, actually. I apologize, Joseph, and I'll hand it back over. You know what I think this study is, and this is the hogwash bullshittery that comes out there, because all the time the government is trying to pry its way into parenting, and it's trying to weasel its way in and take away their rights as parents and trying to make their decisions for. We see this shit happening with the let your kids be transgender bullshittery that went on in California with the Supreme Court ruling. Well, yeah, that too. But then you also see the Supreme Court ruling the teachers withheld the information from the parents that their child wanted to be transgender, even though the parents already let them know our child is trying to make this claim. We are disavowing it. Do not feed this claim. Do not do this. Teachers withheld all this information. Kid was like literally mentally ill, tried to commit unaliving themselves. Right. And then the parents don't realize all this other stuff is going on. And the teachers were like, well, we hold this information to protect the kid. No, the fuck you didn't. The kid needed fucking help. The parents didn't know to do it because you were over there like, well, we got to protect them for wanting to be called John instead of Jamie.
Sarah, a lot of that stuff correlates. The people who say don't spank also agree with allowing them to fucking choose their own gender.
That's what I'm fucking saying. The government is trying to pry its way.
Positions can be right.
Throw a study at them. And let them think, well, you're a bad parent because your kids will turn out better if you don't spank them. That also means your kids will turn out better if you do what we tell you to do based off of these studies. Fuck you.
I think, if I may, Tomatoes, I think you're unfairly letting the parents off the hook. Saying like the parents didn't or the teachers.
Go ahead.
Or maybe you're not, but how it sounds to me is like the teachers didn't inform the parents. I don't think that a parent spanking their child will cause violent tendencies in the child. It's usually a misdirected anger. The child's usually oblivious to why they're violent. You know, it's like neglect, something like that, or like if the parent needs to learn from the teacher, then I would say most likely the parent or the child doesn't feel safe enough to, or doesn't feel like there will be any change if the child tells the parent.
So you hear the whole thing, okay? This was just a recent court case in, I believe it was California. It was kind of a big deal because the judges handed it back to the parents to have the right to make decisions for their child and not the fucking school. So what was going on was little Jane, okay, was telling their parents, I want to be John. And the parents said, no, you're not going to do this. We're not going to allow it. You are Jane. And they would, you know, she would leave the house. And she
I think I know where
you're. Let me finish it. So anybody who's not familiar with it. So Jane would go to school, went to teacher and said, teacher, I would like to be referred to as John. Now, California had this rule implied where if the student wants to be referred to as another gender or whatever the thing would be, if the student said, I don't want you to tell my parents, then the teachers had the right to withhold that information and anything that went along with it, right? So the teachers were calling Jane John. Okay. And the teachers were actually going out of their way to hide information from the parents and doing all this other fucked up stuff. And then Jane was going through all these mental health issues that the parents didn't fucking know about. And I think she had already had something happen prior to that. And that's why it was such a big deal, because she, like, it was already well informed that she was struggling and the parents needed to know this fucking information. Teachers would hide all this stuff. Next thing you know, she tries to unalive herself. Fortunately, it didn't work, right? And she's in the hospital and the parents are like, what the fuck happened? And then come to find out the teachers had been withholding all of this information. They're referring to Jane as John and they're confirming all this, you know, gender affirmate, whatever bullshittery. Behind the parents' back after the parents gave strict orders to not do as such. Now, the courts basically overturned the California law and said, you are not going to remove the rights of a parent to know what's going on with their child. You will not. You cannot restrict parents' information about their child when they are in the school. You will not do it. I don't give a fuck. And so I was happy to see that overturn, but here's what's going on. The government is slyly moving its way. You're seeing send all your kids to college so that now we have access to them and they're no longer under your house, under your rules. Send them to where they can freely learn anything we want to feed them. You're seeing the CPS get called more often because a kid cried too loud or you know, that because they didn't get their iPad and mom spanked them or something like that. You're seeing all this bullshittery. You're seeing a lot of false claims go across the board or subjectivity to what is a spanking and what is abuse, right? You're seeing a lot of bullshittery come across the board with the government chiming in and telling parents how to parent. Now, I'm not saying that we should allow for parents to beat the fuck out of their kids. There is a form of child abuse and that is not okay. But when the government impedes on actual parenting and what they deem is best for the child. Because here's what happens, Joseph. If we allow this bullshittery for the schools to not take the information or not provide parents information, let's say I am religious and I believe actually those parents were religious and it was against their religion. I'm religious and I want my child to X, Y, and Z, and they go to school or they're out and about and, whatever, and they do X, Y, and Z that it's against our religion and it's very well known. And the government protects that child from what I deem is the best interest of my fucking child based on my religious beliefs. Guess what? You are now impeding on my rights as a parent to parent my child based on our religious beliefs. And this shit is getting all over the place and in the way, and that's what they want to do. I'll step off my soapbox. Fuck all y'all.
That's coming
I
back.
just wanted to say I'm going to head out. You guys have a good night. Thanks for having me.
Let me ask the question. That's an interesting. Do you remember that like thing that happened? This is probably 20 years
real
ago.
Quick, Gibbs, if I may, real quick, and then you go right after, just so I can respond quick. I agree with you, Sarah. I think people like T-Jump. I was going to bring it up I could argue and have him convinced that robots should raise children because of better outcomes. That's his moral view. I would characterize teachers, maybe even unknowingly, but that's predatory behavior because it's the decision making or the consent holder is with the parents. Otherwise, it's robots, right? So I agree with that. I was just trying to say that a lot of the times kids don't tell their parents how their day was. It's like it's a learned behavior. So it doesn't effectuate change. So like if I tell them something, maybe it'll just cause my parents grief and I'm secondary to that. I think that's a lot of the time the case. And that's why teachers get away with this shit, how they do that. It's like a predator's thing. That's how they.
So like, here's my question, right? So what happens when that goes too far though? Because I'm generally on board with what you just said, Sarah. However, do y'all remember that situation? This is like 20 years ago, probably now, maybe longer. But there was that kid that they could have been saved from a blood transfusion, but the parents were like, no, you can't have blood transfusions against our religion. No, they weren't Scientologists. They were some like weird.
This is Mormons. This is Mormons.
Yeah,
or
no,
I
don't remember.
No. It's
anyway, not really important.
Jehovah's Witnesses, yes.
I don't know what they were specifically. I think they might have been Jehovah's. Whatever. That's not important in this way. I don't remember all the specifics. But the point that I'm making is, what happens when I want my kid to follow my religion goes too far? Like, no offense, but if I can save my child. Or save somebody's child with a blood transfusion, they should get it. And if, no offense, if your God thinks that you're going to go to hell because you got a blood transfusion, I got 2 words where I fuck God then. And I may say that as a Christian because I know as a Christian that my God's not going to tell me to do that. And even if I wasn't Christian, then I definitely don't believe in that shit. So what happens when it goes too far? Like, what protection should be implemented? I think that's a valid question.
Yeah, I like the question. And I do believe the courts actually have decided on this. And it is a worst case scenario. They use saline solution now. And so when they're doing surgeries, a friend of mine, hold on. A friend of mine had a kid, and he was born with half of a heart. The kid had heart surgery immediately upon birth. Okay. They used saline solution, no blood, worked out just fine. It was absolutely 0 blood needed. Completely used saline solution. Boston, by the way, Children's Hospital, absolute one of the best in the world. But the court has decided that they can do it, that it can be pushed for, but it has to be at the absolute worst case scenario to save the child's life.
Clay, that's the exact format that they used when Biden had that transgender admiral. Navy person to start saying it's imperative that we do this for the kids early on so they can live a normal life. Like there's we're about to get a lot of that after this.
Think of it this way, and then I'll read some super chats. But even vaccinations, I don't technically have to get vaccinations. I think for my kids, I just can't send them to public school, right? They're like, it's just like, yeah, sure, you don't have to, but you're gonna have to work around it. So even with that, even though data may show that, you don't catch malaria if you have this specific vaccine, well, look, I'm going to take my chances, but the government says, okay, fine, take your chances, but you're not going to take your chances on our property. And that's all.
Religious exemption.
I understand that.
Religious exemption.
Yes. Well, I think it only goes so far.
That's exactly where it comes
in. Florida, Texas, and California, and New York, religious exemption. I know that for sure. None of my kids had any vaccines, and the oldest is 19.
They went to public school?
Yeah. I did want to touch on one thing also, because discipline, I wanted to say this a little earlier while you were on your soapbox.
You can also say you're Jewish, by the way. Jewish, you can get away with no vaccine, 100,000% guaranteed.
Yeah, I believe that. So with discipline, so the spanking happens, okay? But there's also a talking to. Right. And that part gets left out when people start talking about the abuse. They just, you spanked your child. No, I had a conversation, told him what it was for. And then after it's done, he can go back and play. That's not just spanking your child and they don't know what.
That's what I'm saying. With great power comes great responsibility. Right. And that's the difference between like I said, the inner city parents that are just beating their kids' asses and have no structure to the rhyme or reason. They're just mad because you're a shit asshole, but you gave no Like you gave no structure for them to follow to begin with. What do you expect, right? That's where that comes in.
Yeah, it's still harmful.
Here's the thing, though. Cognitively, Clay, if we were to come to a conclusion, one, for me just explaining it to you and you coming to that conclusion, or two, I pistol whip you in the skull with my gun pointed at you and then explain it to you, would you cognitively come to the same place?
I'm not talking about pistol whipping. What the fuck?
Yeah,
an ability to engage with hypotheticals is a sign of low IQ.
We kind of had this discussion, right?
To do with discipline.
Answer the question.
Hold on. And maybe
binding promise can.
Maybe I can maybe clarify that for you, Effigy, because if my son is like, I used the parking lot example earlier, my son is like douching around the parking lot, being a little asshole, right? And I'm like, stop running around, and he doesn't, and so I spank him to stop him. It's like that shock moment of, no, you're gonna listen to me now. Then you talk to your fucking kid and explain what's going on. But in that moment, it is to stop the behavior that could be potentially dangerous or whatever the case for that moment, or it's a meant to snap their attention, right? Yeah,
but it's still harmful nonetheless.
Yeah, okay. And then what's more harmful, snatching him or letting him run in front of the fucking car, stupid?
Exactly.
All dichotomy. There's not just spanking. There's not just spanking, by the way. There's not just spanking. I'm so sorry. That was not a hypothetical. That was not a hypothetical where only two solutions are possible, Clay. Again, it's not a low IQ.
I get it.
You're very dumb.
Reason though, Bones. That's why you're stopping him from running in the parking lot, because he could fucking get hurt.
But he didn't consent to you.
You don't need to spank him. I don't hold the best possible world theory. This doesn't work here.
You know,
let me
I don't follow T-Jump's
framework. Hold on. Everybody shut up. Y'all are gonna fucking get spanked by the end of this night, and it's gonna be by me, and then you're gonna tell me how much that fucking woke you up. Fourth Wiseman comes in with a big 10, says raise the young to be independent. Did I already read this? Yes, I did. I apologize.
Yeah.
Fourth Wiseman says, Omar, I'm the anomaly whom often gets hunted. I've learnt all the tricks applied whilst I don't hide in the shadows. Profound is probably a reasonable way to describe the bombshells I drop. You're welcome. And that's your answer as to why Fourth Wiseman doesn't have to get on this fucking panel, because he's just going to be dropping bombshells all night.
Poetry.
Well, to his earlier point, raising them to be independent and kind of like encouraging them to do that, probably the best way to go.
Can you repeat the dichotomy for Clay about the pistol whipping and or so he can answer the question?
Effigy is not advocating for pistol whipping your children. Just
he's talking about you. That's
the stupidest shit I ever heard, Omar. What do you
Effigy was just saying, would you come back for more? That's all.
Do you intake information the same in a regular state or after a violent thing has happened to you?
Bro, in what scenario would pistol whipping? You explain it to me. In what scenario?
I used a hyperbolic example for you to actually understand what I'm saying.
I have a question for you, though, Effigy. How come it works so well in the military? You're not necessarily beating them, but you are physically working them.
It's not exactly an analogy, right?
No, it's still a physical consequence. In that study, it was like physical consequences as well, right? So,
because you're trying to differentiate between
hold on. Give me 100 push-ups for being stupid, right? That is still a physical discomfort that you don't want to do. Like you're going to be questioning, why the fuck am I doing this? But it actually, for the military, it's what builds you back up. They deplete you down in boot camp to make you believe you're a fucking piece of shit on the bottom of their shoe, and then they build you back up along the way. I'm not saying you're teaching your kids. I don't think anyone argued that
physical discomfort is the same thing as physical violence from a specific authority. I don't think it's the same.
And tomatoes, you're arguing apples and tomatoes right now. These are adults who have joined the army.
Apples.
Yeah, just like a pistol whipping is a
You like that one?
scenario.
Well, think about it. Like, what if you're spanking your child for when he acts out or does something that you caused and you don't even realize it? Like, think about what type of vicious cycle you're creating at that point. So, like, if you can err on the side of corrective behavior without, hitting them.
Great. Another if.
Again, we're not saying you're beating your kids all the time, and we're not saying you're hurting them in a way where it's like, oh my God, that was, like they're bleeding and shit. You're not leaving bruises. You're not leaving marks.
I understand that. I get that.
There's a difference in waking them up and beating the fuck out of your kid. And there's a huge difference. Haikuki Gaming sent the Big 10, says, well, I was going to pay to kick someone and get someone back, but they are back. So here's a super chat. Anyways, is war immoral? No.
Yeah, that's Haku. Haku's a good guy.
Haku.
War is based and it increases my stocks. We should have more war. It's immoral to hurt my pocketbook.
But so then if
necessarily
if you lose the war, do you hold the same position if you lose the war?
War is the height of immoral action because it hurts everyone on both sides.
You're muted, Gibbs.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Gibbs, do you know you're muted?
Laying it down.
It was not being immoral then because I would use my wealth to go and move to their country and invest in their military industrial complex and stay rich.
If you have a wealth.
Oh, I will, because I'll be gone.
I don't think it's necessarily immoral. I think it's that part of that evil necessary. Like, what if you're going to war because you're defending yourself? If somebody attacks you and you go to war to defend yourself, I think that's all fair and right. Now you should defend yourself. Calvin says you can also tell who used substance and who abused control substances. Yes, you can. Fourth Wiseman says, I'm very grateful for getting a spank on butt. It soon sinks in that it's not done to harm you, but to protect you from not ignorance, but awareness you require. Thank God. Fucking A right, Fourth Wiseman. I'm glad he agrees with me. And here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, because we are down now to 6 minutes on the dono goal, and you are halfway there. All right, so we're going to kick it off. Clay. Oh, why is that button never fucking work in that corner? It's always like, because it's hiding behind the number. There we go. Got it.
Hey,
Clay, tell them what they need to do.
Well, somebody needs a whooping. And somebody's got to pay for that whooping. That's you, chat. Got to donate. Send some money.
Yeah. Do what Clay said. All right. And I think we lost Spin. Did we lose Spin? I think we lost Spin. All right.
Spin ever not lost?
No one loses when we lose Spin.
What the fuck do they need to do, Ben?
You need to put up 5 donos. And the deal is everybody's got this shit confused, including Sarah, where she keeps threatening to spank people for not behaving. This obviously doesn't work. They want the spankings. What you need to start threatening is withholding the spankings. And then so there will be no S&M pleasures until the donation goals are met.
Yeah. All right. I'm down. We're going with the Dommy Mommy thing here. All right, Bones. Where's Spike at? We still haven't got to Spike yet.
So we haven't gotten to invoke Spike yet, but if you want to continue to see me and Spike rhetorically spank the fuck out of all these idiots, then you need to donate. You need to donate today. You need to donate tomorrow. You need to donate everything immediately because it'll produce the most good. Okay. And I'm saying that as an imposition of your will. So it fucks over T-Jump.
Fair enough. And in the moment, I'm getting a correction from the chat that how'd you say his name again? Haku?
Yeah,
Hakuki wanted to boot Dashton and put Trippy up. So Dashton to the back, Trippy to the front. Thank you so much, Hakuki. And he ended up. I'll still be. Haku. I'll still give you the credit if you want to use another boot later. I appreciate you doubling it up to catch my attention, but I will acknowledge the credit. So if you want to boot somebody later, you got to get my chat to tag me or message me or something. All right, where were we? God, we got a